Hi all you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to show you all how to make a kick-ass Karlach Fury of Avernus deck for roughly $100. Karlach is a mono-red commander to start, more about this later. She costs 1 red mana and 4 colorless to cast. She's a legendary tiefling barbarian with the following ability. Whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Choose a background. Since red specializes in dealing out damage quickly and Karlach's ability revolves around creating a second combat phase, I wanted to choose a green background for Karlach that would allow her to ramp quickly, get monsters out on the field, and then deploy those monsters to destroy the enemy. That left me with a few options: Master Chef, Raised by Giants, Acolyte of Bahamut, Cloakwood Hermit, and Hardy Outlander. I already had Raised by Giants and Hardy Outlander in my collection, so I narrowed it down to those, and chose Raised by Giants in the end. Raised by Giants gives commander creatures you own base power and toughness 10/10, and they are giants in addition to their other types. I figured this was a good choice because it would allow Karlach to deal lethal damage within a handful of turns, especially if she was coupled with an ability like Rogue's Passage, 4 mana tap, which would make her unblockable. As is the case with any Magic the Gathering commander deck, you cannot depend solely on your commander for the win. So I added in some cards with similar abilities to Karlach's in case she gets countered or I otherwise can't get her onto the field. Essentially, these are my plan Bs. These cards include Bloodthirster, which also has flying and trample and some other fun stuff, and Hellcate Charger. In order to gain some keywords and keep my enemies from gaining keywords, I included cards like Anger, which, as long as it's in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control have haste. This will allow me to drop things onto the field and hit quickly. While cards like Archetype of Aggression give creatures you control trample, while creatures your opponents control lose trample and can't have or gain trample. Lizard Blades gives creatures double strike, and there are some other nasty cards in the deck which add other keywords as well and serve as backups to gain these keywords. Since this deck wants to get things out quickly, I added some classic mana dorks like Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic, and less classic Grand Warlord Rada, who has haste, but most importantly, whenever one or more creatures you control attack, add that much mana in any combination of red and or green. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Savage Ventmaw is similar. Whenever it attacks, add red, 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 green, 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 so 3 red, 3 green, until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. There are also classic ramp cards like Cultivate and Rampant Growth. Meanwhile, cards like Atali Primal Storm allows me to cheat cards onto the field because whenever it attacks, I get to exile the top card of each player's library. Then you cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana costs. Ilharg, the Raise Boar, is similar in the sense that whenever Ilharg the Raise Boar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. You can do this over and over to cheat things onto the field. And furthermore, when the Raise Boar dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library third from the top. This essentially makes him immortal and allows you to keep using this ability over and over as soon as you get him onto the field and attacking. There are also cards that reduce the cost of the spells I'm casting in this deck, like Goblin Anachromancer, which is always good because I can get more onto the field, because I don't have to use as much mana. Again, since I want to dish out damage quickly, I added Beastly Beasts and spells that raise power. Examples include Zopendrel Hunger Dominus, which at the beginning of each combat double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Unnatural Growth is an enchantment in the deck that does the same thing. Meanwhile, cards like Calamity Bearer makes it so if a giant source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. This is great to play with Karlach and my chosen background, Raised by Giants, since Karlach counts as a giant in addition to her other types. This makes her particularly lethal, especially if she gets a +1 counter from the numerous other cards that boost in the deck, like Gaia's Gift and Tyver's Stand. Drakuseth, Maw of Flames, deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets whenever it attacks, and Surrak and Goreclaw, for example, have Trample. Give other creatures you control Trample. And whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get to put a 1/1 counter on it. It gains haste until the end of the turn. There is also some removal in this deck for balance, like Stormkeld Vanguard / Bear Down, which can destroy a target artifact or enchantment and decimate, which allows you to destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land. And Croson Grip, which allows you to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. There's a handful of equipment like Swiftfoot Boots to give a creature hexproof and haste, and Mage Slayer, which whenever equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to the player or planeswalker it's attacking, which synergizes well with the deck. Because ultimately you want to get creatures out on the board quickly and deal as much damage as possible by making your army as lethal as possible. Since with this card you're basically dealing double damage, it does this a lot more quickly. And there you have it, my deck for Karlach Fury of Avernus with Raised by Giants as its background. What did you think of my first deck tech? Do you want to check Karlach out? Do you think she'd be better with another background? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you kings, queens, and in-betweens think. A full deck list will also be posted down below in the description for your convenience and perusal. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue, subscribe, ring that bell so you always know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye guys!
Hi, Tisha Valenza, aka Poison Ivy, and you've just been watching King's Entertainment Reviews. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch.